Hello, my name is Matthew, and I just finished reading a book called The Painter's Muse by Emmelie Arents, if I'm saying that correctly. And it's a Belgian writer, and this is written in English. It's an author that has written, I think it's 6 books in Dutch or Flemish, and I don't think I've read any Belgian writers before, which I was really kind of interested in. I think maybe or Erasmus comes to mind, but I can't think of Dutch or Belgian or Flemish writers that I know that that I've read before. And I was interested in this book. The author of Emmelie Arents, if I'm saying that correctly, is a booktuber. She makes really great videos talking about books, the kind that interest me anyway. Introspective and articulate and thoughtful and things like that. And last year she had an English language book come out. This one, The Painter's Muse, and I saw it, and I'm a fan of her channel. I'll make a point to leave a video, a link to her channel if you're interested. But I ordered the book, and it was really good timing for me. I felt, because I've had a string of really big books, long books, books that have that are unwieldy and have a huge cast of characters and just go on and on and on forever. And this book is fairly slim, tight, contemporary, and I thought, Belgian and a contemporary novel, like a good, clean story would do the trick for my reading as a palate cleanser and things like that. And I was really impressed with this book. And as I was reading it, and as the surprises were unfolding, I found it more and more terrific. I really enjoyed this book. So, the premise is it's set in 1613 in Venice. And it's a period piece. It's a historical novel. It's a mystery. It's a suspense novel. It's a romantic novel. There's erotic elements to it. It's supernatural and worldly. So we have art and literature and theater and music and all of those sort of things whirling around in the background. But we have a simple cast of characters. We have Lorenzo, who is a tragic character. We know that his mother has died. He's a widower. His wife had died a few years past. Talented, but stuck in a family profession where they make masks. His father is a mask maker in Venice in the 1600s, and he is a very talented mask maker. There's a wonderful scene at the beginning to show his talent and also his loyalty to his father in the sale of a mask. There are also supernatural elements, which we'll get into and become very important, but also fold really nicely into the, the the logic of the story that is being told. Um, he is conflicted. He's a very conflicted character, person, wants more for himself, doesn't want to. It's like the story of, the fisherman that has generations of being a fisherman. His father was a fisherman, and his grandfather was a fisherman, and he's going to be a fisherman. That sort of thing, where he's a mask maker, but he has higher aspirations. What I found immediately so captivating, we find ourselves at the beginning with a theater, like a stage. And there's characters wearing masks, and you would find that to be typical. You wouldn't be surprised if someone on stage was wearing a mask, but in Venice in the 1600s, in this world, we have characters that wear masks on the streets, and they in public and normal gatherings, and out and about. It's seemingly not abnormal to have masks on. And I don't know the history. I could have maybe looked it up to see if there's like historical accuracy, but it reminded me of Eyes Wide Shut, where you're in this kind of cultish, mysterious, strange kind of world where it's ubiquitous to have masks on, and I loved that. And throughout the novel, characters are it's a major plot device that the characters are wearing masks at parties or theaters or balls or out and about. They have a mask on, which is eerie and metaphorical and allegorical and things like that. But it worked really well in this story. The supernatural element, I felt like, was folded in really, really well. There's a mask that Leonardo da Vinci had made, and through these like mysterious aspects and different things that are going on in the book, we have like characters showing up, and treachery and ominous people. You can tell like there's danger and stuff like that. There's a mask that our main character finds that was made by Da Vinci, and has supernatural characteristics. And through a few circumstances, our main character meets a famously wealthy family, household in Venice, and finds himself as the court-appointed painter. And suddenly, this mask painter, Lorenzo, he works with his father and he paints masks. And all of a sudden, he's like the most brilliant painter in Venice at the time. And that could normally kind of seem kind of contrived, but the supernatural element, I felt like, was done so well that it didn't feel forced or arching or making me arch my eyebrows. Like it was kind of built into the world that something is going on. Um, these masks really reminded me of Lord of the Rings, in the sense of um, there's an object that you can grab onto, have possession of, and it will give you some sort of greatness or power, but will also lead to your ultimate destruction. There's a lot of literary allusions and inspiration. I feel like Jane Eyre, The Lord of the Rings. There's like these like darts of some of the supernatural elements that you would find in the picture of Dorian Gray. But there's a mystery that starts happening, and we get into this household where we have the man of the house, there's the woman of the house, and all the servants, and we're in this big house, and now our main character is set on this commission to paint the ballroom something beautiful, and we have the wife of the household, and her name is Artissima. I just read this whole thing, so I should know. Artemisia, I'll say. And conflict builds immediately, and there's suspense and mystery, and what we find is every character in this book has a dark corner. There's like these dark folds, and every character has their own motivations, their own plots, their own desires, and it's so well done. As I was reading it, I first thought, I was happy. I thought like, oh, okay, this is a very clear, concise, economical, very well balanced, well paced story, very well written. And as I was reading it, I realized like there's tension between every character. There's no good character. There's no bad character. Every character is. There's no character that has the moral high ground. It's all gray, and it's all folded up, and all of these different characters, and all of the suspense, and all the mystery is wound up in a really, really satisfying, impressive way. I thought I was reading a very simple story, and I found it to be more engaging, more complex. The more that I read it, so at each turn, every plot point, to every story beat, it felt like it was composed, thought through, in a way that just kind of, that surprised me. I suppose. There were things that the mask elements, which I mentioned, reminded me of Eyes Wide Shut. But when we get into this house, it becomes so terrific, and it's one of my favorite like subgenres or interests or plot devices or whatever you want to call it. But a large house full of a large group of people that are constantly sneaking around. I was reading this book, and there were moments that reminded me of an old movie from the 1980s called a Michael J. Fox movie called the Secret of My Success. And there's this wonderful comedic scene where all these people come together. They're in a big house. Everyone goes to bed, but immediately everyone wakes up, and you have a dozen people sneaking around all at the same time with their own passions and desires and plots and schemes, and it's like a 5-minute scene or something, but they're all sneaking around the house and kind of just missing each other or hearing a creak on the floor, and hiding and watching someone go by. In this book, every minute there's someone sneaking around, and it's wonderful. It's so wonderful. Uh, the book is set in Venice, 1613. It's written in English, so presumably, uh, although it's written in English, all the characters are speaking in Italian, and there's just that suspension of disbelief. We have these moments where we have characters that go to the theater, and there's kind of crucial plot points that involve um, watching or participating in scenes from Shakespeare. And the book is really literary, in the sense of when I read a book, and a character is reading a book, I'm always fascinated to know. And this book kind of delivers in a way that satisfies me, as far as, oh, they're reading Dante, they're reading Othello or Macbeth or what is it called? Aristio, or whatever it is. Um, and it felt so. There was a moment where it felt like the Shakespeare that was being written didn't exactly match up with the actual Shakespeare, even though it's English to English. And I didn't check, but I thought it was kind of like an interesting detail to think, well, the Shakespeare that they would be performing would be in Italian, and the book that I'm reading would be a transliteration from that Italian to English, so it wouldn't match the exact English Shakespeare to the real Shakespeare, if that makes sense. Um, there were like details like that I found very intriguing. Like I mentioned, the characters wear masks, but there's a whole erotic element to this book. There's very clear sex scenes that I thought were really well done, in the sense that they didn't feel gratuitous. They really felt like they were pushing the plot forward, whether it was a master and a servant uh, performing a sex scene, where it's not that it's erotic, it's a show of dominance, or lurid or illicit sex scenes that are betraying trusted partners, or things like that. But we have a main character in love with a woman, and we have a servant that wants to give this main character the illusion of that love, and she puts like a band, like a scarf around his eyes. And I thought it was like such an interesting detail that like the royal classes, the aristocracy, they would have these beautiful masks, but the servant classes, they wouldn't. So their mask would be just a blindfold. Things like that I found really interesting. I really did find it beautifully written. There were moments where I was like nearly every page like rereading a sentence and going like that was really well done. I think one of the main aspects that I thought really impressed me with this book was the narrative device, or the point of view. It's a book that has multiple points of views as two, so it's not first person or third person. We have the two main characters that are telling us their story, and so there are moments where we'll get the same interaction from two different points of views, and then you'll read it and realize the different angles that they were coming from. But halfway through the book, 2/3 of the way through the book, because it's a mystery and a suspense, and there's villainy and there's things going on, and so we're trying to figure out like who kidnapped the father, and who murdered this person, and what's going on with this person, and was this person poisoned, and we have these two main characters that we're following, and they have a romantic triangle going on. But there was a moment reading it and realizing if you're following one person's perspective, that person's not going to be the villain. No one ever thinks they're the villain. And so when you have another major character that's not privy to having their internal thoughts, they're the villain. And there's a moment in the book where I started thinking like, oh, wait a minute, like, am I not seeing all the different perspectives? Like, who's really in the wrong here? Like, am I reading the hero's perspective? Like, this character is certainly not black and white heroic. The heroine is certainly not black and white heroic. But it was enjoyable, and as the story builds, and like I said, the pacing and the surprises, the details are really, really well done. When we start getting to the conclusions, it starts turning, and it's now, how are we going to be wrapping this up? Because you want the satisfaction of all this mystery and everything building and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was terrific, economical, laconic, beautifully well written. The author, I'm going to leave a link to her YouTube channel, but one of the things that had grabbed my eye was that this book, there's like a European edition that has like a black covering with like a beautiful design. Apparently it's not available in America. I'm interested to see if I could find that edition, maybe on like eBay or something, I'm not sure. And I guess that's what I'll say about this book. I really liked it. I think for like a contemporary mystery, romance, supernatural book that has to like balance all these different things, I thought it was superb. So Emmelie, Arents, the painter's Muse. Let me know if you have read it. For those boxes, I would recommend it. And there's also a unfolding with even the title of the book, because we have like the eye of the author and his muse, but then there's also another mystical element. So like everything in the book has like multiple different stories going on. But anyway, The Painter's Muse. Let me know if you've read it, and thank you for watching, and take care.